You all welcome back. Today is 27 February 2026. We go through the issue surrounding the report about Moore. The report is submitted to Donald Trump and the things that is into that report and how the thing has been going. So there is a lot that has been said about it, which in this video we are going to break it down the way it is and how the government is panicking over that report and how everything is going. So according to the title, they say Tinubu government to be indicted to Washington for questioning on the report submitted to Trump by Moore. So Moore is the U.S. committee that came to Nigeria and that go around and have the report, and they also submitted it to Donald Trump on the issue concerning what he found in Nigeria and the other things. So in this report, there's a lot that has been saying about that report, and then in this video they are going to explain a lot of things concerning that report. So don't skip any part of it because the report is coming from Channel TV. So there's a lot which Rufai and his team said in this place because he really hits the hammer on the nail. So about what is happening in Nigeria and how the government is panicking over what is going on, because if you can see this issue of Sharia or no Sharia, Sharia law or no Sharia law, it has been something that the US government has been talking about, that Nigerian they need to remove it into their constitution. And then it is something that Moore is also talking about, that all those things is what they submit to Donald Trump. So don't skip any part. Try to watch to the end for you to understand everything that is going on in Nigeria. So don't skip any part as you're about to watch. Like, subscribe, and make sure you share it to go around. Let others see things happening in Nigeria.
U.S. lawmakers have delivered a comprehensive report to the White House outlining specific measures to combat Christian persecution and extremist violence in Nigeria. The February 23rd presentation marks a significant escalation in congressional pressure on Abuja to address religious violations. Congressman Riley Moore led the bipartisan delegation that formally handed over the document to the Trump administration, the congressional document proposing sweeping actions, negotiating a bilateral U.S.-Nigeria security agreement conditioning American aid on verifiable progress, and imposing targeted sanctions under the Global Magnitsky Act against individuals or groups complicit in violations. The report specifically names the Meeti Allah Cattle Breeders Association and officials enabling blasphemy enforcement. The lawmakers are demanding the repeal of Sharia and blasphemy laws in states where they are applied, disarmament of militias, persecution of perpetrators, and improved protections for displaced communities. While the White House hasn't commented on next steps, but the report signals potential escalation in U.S. pressure if Nigeria fails to demonstrate measurable progress on religious freedom protection. But however, implementing these sweeping measures may present, significant diplomatic challenges. I know that you have gone through the document and you've seen some of those measures, especially some of these, enforcements of, disarming the Sharia law or, changing all of that. It might, it might prove challenging for them. I don't know how that implementation might work, but it is welcoming to hear the sort of collaboration when you talk about persecution of militias, the terrorist group, and that sort of rhetoric is what we want to hear with the collaboration.
All right, I like the word collaboration that you emphasize on. Yes. I don't think this is a collaboration, mind you. I think this is the US taking charge and inviting Nigeria when it thinks it needs to come on the table. Yes, they have talked about collaboration, but truly, when you read the report, there's nothing collaborative about this. The recommendations, the stark numbers that were mentioned, it was an indictment, because they said that Nigeria is actually the most difficult country currently to live as a Christian, where Christians are persecuted. That was stated in their report. But when you talk about recommendations, this is where, and that's why I come to the point of it's not a collaboration, because I'm not sure how Nigeria would achieve some of the recommendations made by Rep. Railima and the committee that worked on this.
More details.
There's more details, but it's there. But in truth, there are certain very divisive recommendations were there that I don't think if Nigeria was part of that committee, they would agree to. Number one, we've often talked about the Sharia law and the history of the Sharia law, that it's more complicated and complex than just saying do away with it. It started from the Obasanjo administration, and yes, we might have conversations and thoughts around it, and a number of people have come out to say that this is one of the reasons why it's difficult to practice Christianity in certain parts of the country, but there are constitutional conversations around that. It's not just coming up with a report and stating that. Then he also talks about Russia, relationships with Russia and China, and talking about how the Chinese sometimes take advantage and perpetuate these acts by paying these militia groups to protect them when they illegally mine our resources. We need to investigate that, because there have been undercurrents around these illegal minings going on and the funding of these illegal mining. So whilst we might disagree with the US position on how Nigeria should interact with other international partners like Russia and China, there's still some substance there that needs to be investigated, and we need to say more about that. But in other areas, a lot, if you go and read under the comments, you would almost feel sad or embarrassed being in Nigeria. People were hailing, oh, thank you so much, now come and monitor our elections, you have done really well. But of course, this is ignorant response, because it's not everything as a Nigerian that should agree. We are still a sovereign nation, the last time I checked. But other recommendations, the collaboration of coming together to ensure that aid is provided.
So there's
to ensure that, aid is provided for the people living in the IDP camps, internally displaced camps, and for that process to be transparent and the money is monitored. Also based on achievable outcomes as well. I thought that was really good. And we should begin to see how we phase out and take out people from the IDP and resettle them into the communities. They also talk about protection of lives and properties in these areas, and concerted efforts that must be made by the government to ensure the protection of lives and properties, especially in the middle belt areas or areas that have been flagged off. This would have a ripple effect, but on the whole of it, it's bittersweet. Good, because finally attention has been brought to this matter that has been talked about for too long in Nigeria, but has been covered. But bad, because it's quite sad that another country seems to be taking the lead in what Nigeria ought to primarily be taking a lead on in terms of protecting its own people.
Yeah, I mean, you highlighted, there's no harm in collaborating. I mean, because this is how nations survive, really. And, there's some sort of diplomatic relations that we need to continue to engage to solve these problems, severe problems that we're facing in Nigeria. Well, meanwhile, Rufai, in a shocking development, a new report from AFP has sparked reactions as it alleges that the Nigerian government paid 2 billion naira to Boko Haram terrorists in exchange for 230 students and staff of St. Mary's Catholic School after they were kidnapped last November. According to the report, 3 sources told AFP that Nigeria's federal government flew via helicopter to one of Boko Haram's hideouts in Goza, northeastern Borno State, and transferred the funds to Ali Ngulde, one of the group's militant commanders, and because of poor network in the area, Ngulde reportedly had to leave Nigeria and travel to Cameroon to confirm receipt of the money. Once confirmed, 100 children were released. 2 Boko Haram commanders were also reportedly released as part of the deal. Now, the allegations from this report raise serious questions around what went into securing the victims' freedoms. Nigerian security services categorically denied paying any ransom, stating government agents do not pay ransoms, when we're told that the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, led the 2-week negotiations that secured the children's release in December. Now, this new report counters the government's claim, and if ransom was paid, it sets a dangerous precedent when it comes to funding of terrorist operations and hinders any sort of, achievement that we can make in this issue that we are facing in Nigeria. Your thoughts?
Oji, Nigeria is a country that has been battered, that has lost a spine, and that is now degrading. And that's the sad reality. From the comments Ayo made as regards America trying to tell you what to do, are not collaborating. It's an indictment to say they were trying to collaborate. They were upending your sovereignty right in front of you. Because if they tell you don't deal with Russia but deal with Hungary because Trump is close to Viktor Orban, they are upending your sovereignty. They are telling you that change your laws. They are telling you that we're taking responsibility for your country. Things you ought to provide as a sovereign nation for your people, you cannot provide it. They are taking away your sovereignty, upending your sovereignty. And you think it's something to be happy about. It's a reflection of a country that's on the spine, as on its knees, that has lost the spine. It has also lost the spine because you can't fight insecurity. We keep asking the Papiri people that happened, how did they get out? The National Security Advisor told us that don't worry, they will release them. We keep asking, if you do not kill these people in an operation, that means something must have happened. But you see, whatever allegations that they made at the pay ransom is a waste, Oji. You know why? Because some of the Papiri students were kidnapped in January when another attack happened around Niger. So when you look at what is happening in the country, you also now talk about the complicity. That's to show you that Nigeria has lost its spine. A case in point, still today, Oji, who ordered the military to leave 30 minutes before the KB girls were abducted? So can we also extrapolate by saying, were the KB girls too paid? Were ransom paid for the KB girls before they will have been released? Because that was how they were released. Without shooting, without anything. What kind of deal went on?
Those are the questions, Rufai.
And secondly, who ordered the military to leave 30 minutes before? Just like in the case of Woro, over 100 and something people have been kidnapped now. When they sent security reports, it took the military 10 hours to respond. Another point on complicity. When the village head in Woro sent a message to the security authorities, the bandits, the criminals, the terrorists intercepted that message, and that was why they strung. Another fourth point on complicity. So when you have all of this and the National Security Advisor just says they are releasing people, then it shows that the nation has lost its spine. You know why? Because the general affirmation of every nation is its sovereignty and it is right to be able to protect the people in Section 14 of Section 2. So if the government has lost it in any shape or form, then it is a case of water don't pass Gary or yam pepper scatter issue after yoro. So we are in a dilemma as we speak today, Oji. And that's why when I submit to you that we do not have security, people think I don't know what I'm saying. It's because I've looked at all the parameters and say that if you are protected in this country, it's just by the grace of God you sleep and wake up. Oji, if the men of the criminal world decide to attack or strike anybody close to you, they will do it without anything happening to them. That's the kind of country we are. And that's why you see America is dictating to us. And you can see that Nigeria government has lost its spine so much that in all of this conversation, instead of us to go ahead and take the fight to these people killing people in Jaws and in the likes and everything, what are we doing? We are paying millions to go and do PR and propaganda by trying to appease America, by telling America that we are trying to fight the problem when the problem is still on ground.
All right.
Successive governments failed, but the failure of these governments is ironclad.
All right. Dr. Bati, I'd like your thoughts on the two story.
The thing about America dictating to us and all of that, we should put this in proper context. America is not dictating to Nigeria. That has not happened. We cannot say America is violating our sovereignty. That has not happened. What has happened is that on October 31, 2025, the president directed Riley Moore and the committees on appropriation and foreign relations to go and investigate the alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria. Now, those congressional committees had hearings. Bipartisan trips were made to Nigeria. The Nigerian leaders met with the Americans and all of that. And Riley Moore had been mandated to submit a report to President Trump. What they have now done is that Riley Moore, leading the investigation committee, has now, with the committees, appropriation and foreign affairs, submitted a report to President Trump in the White House.
All right.
The United States has not adopted that report. The government of Donald Trump has not made any pronouncement on that report.
Correct.
The Nigerian government has also not responded to it.
Correct.
This is the opinion of the
Some
investigating
lawmakers, yes.
team.
Right.
And what happens hereafter is when we will be able to make definitive statements.
Right.
One quick very point that I can make is about the recommendation that Nigeria should do away with the Sharia.
That was what
the Sharia is
gonna be
a
hard to
constitutional
implement.
matter.
Yeah.
The process of how it came about has been well articulated by Matthew Hassan Kuka, now Bishop, in his book Religion, Politics and Power in Northern Nigeria. Now, the decision when the 1979 Constitution was being formulated was that it would be a personal orthodoxy. Sharia is supposed to apply to persons who submit themselves to it. The abuse is the problem. Its conversion in Zamfara State in 1999, further emulated by other states in this country, into a criminal orthodoxy. That's where the problem is. So nobody can say President Tinubu can unilaterally abolish Sharia. He cannot do that. If it is a constitutional matter, it will have to go through the Constitution.
All right.
Oh, yes. This has been the problem. This has been the problem here. In everything, they will tell you it is a constitutional right. It is a constitutional right for them to have the Sharia, for them to have the Sharia law. It is there in the Constitution. Nobody is arguing that, and nobody is telling them for them not to have the Sharia law. But where is the problem here is that you will have it and you will be using it to oppress others. The people that is not your part of your religion, and you will use it against them. And you will try to impose it on people that is not even attached with your faith. That is where it is a problem here. Because you claim that they claim that it is part of the Constitution we are having. Yes, it is in the Constitution, but as a secular state, we don't need to have that Constitution to be imposed on everybody. So everybody need to have their own ways of living according to what they claim that we are in a secular state. Meaning you need to believe in whatever you want to believe and do those things. Somebody somewhere will not come up and they impose their own law on you. So that is what is here. But in the issue of their own system, it is different. It is very, very different. So we don't really understand the whole thing that is going on in the system.
The U.S. Congress committee that was sent to Nigeria to investigate the allegation of Christian genocide and Christian persecution in Nigeria has finally dropped their report titled Ending the Persecution of Christians in Nigeria. That report is now before the President of the United States, President Donald Trump. What it did not recommend is for the division of Nigeria. Before Riley Moss submitted his report, there were rumor mills that part of the recommendation that will be contained in his report will be the division of Nigeria. Several northern elites were already writing articles on it, condemning that position, even when the report had not yet been submitted. Those who supported separatist groups were happy that there was thinking in that direction. But in this video, we're going to show you why division of Nigeria was not considered in the report by the congressional committee that visited Nigeria to look at the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria. Now, for separatist groups like the Yoruba Nation, like the Biafra Republic agitators, and all others who are separatist groups in Nigeria, they will be disappointed that the report has finally come out and it did not recommend anything close to division of Nigeria. Now we're going to show you why Riley Moore could not have done that. And the thing is largely because they discovered that dividing the country, supporting the separatist groups, will create more problems for Christians in northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt. In other words, they look at it and they discovered that it will be messy and that Christians will suffer if there is any plan to divide Nigeria. That those who will suffer most are Christians, and that they are going to be Christians in northern Nigeria and in the Middle Belt. That is what I think is the reason why they did not recommend it. It's not just what I think. This is what Riley Moore himself has written on his verified X handle. Why they will not empower separatist groups. They say that it will hurt Christians in the north, that they will suffer, and Christians in the Middle Belt will suffer in the crisis that will ensue in the division of Nigeria if they support the separatist groups. That is the position of Riley Moore on this matter. How did we know this? Now, Riley Moore, when the rumor was high about this issue of that the Americans wanted to divide the country, okay, that they are pursuing the agenda of separatist groups like IPOP and others. Okay, Riley Moore, through his verified Twitter or X handle, responded to this matter. That is why in the report, which we have discussed in a previous video, the report they have presented to Donald Trump, that they did not recommend anything close to division of Nigeria in their recommendation. Now, this is what Riley Moore wrote on his verified X handle to address this issue of that Americans are coming to divide Nigeria, which got a lot of northern intellectuals agitated, and they were writing op-ed or opinion articles against America's move. Okay. Now look, this is what Riley Moore wrote that clearly shows why they did not consider the issue of dividing Nigeria as a permanent solution. Because even if you go to the Riley Moore page and see comments by those after he dropped this report, there are those who are still insisting that the only solution to killings in Nigeria is to divide the country. But Riley Moore has a different idea on the matter. Now this is what he wrote. He said, I have traveled to Nigeria and engaged in multiple high-level meetings with Nigerian officials, the church, 8 groups across Nigeria, and the internally displaced person IDPs to get a better understanding of the rampant persecution of Christians in Nigeria. In my discussions, the idea of dividing the country has not come up in any serious way. He said the idea of dividing the country has not come up in any serious way. So that the dividing the country was not even an issue that was discussed with Christian leaders and others. And he went on to write, he said, efforts to embolden separatists hurts Christians in Nigeria. Efforts to embolden separatists hurts Christians in Nigeria, especially in the north and middle belt. Especially in the north and middle belt. He said, a destabilized Nigeria will embolden terrorists and make Christians less safe in Nigeria and across the continent. So you can see his perception on it. He believed that if Nigeria is destabilized, those who will pay the biggest price, who will suffer most, according to him, are the Christians. And these are Christians in northern Nigeria and in the Middle Belt. He said, I remain committed to working to save the lives of our brothers and sisters in Christ, and for that matter, all Nigerians suffering from the instability wrought by terrorists throughout Nigeria. He now then went on to say that the US and Nigeria have entered into a security cooperation agreement, and that is an important step in tackling the violence in Nigeria and deepening and strengthening the bilateral relationship between our great nations. So you can see that what was concerning to them, even though he said that the issue of dividing the country had not come out in any serious way, does it mean that it has come up in an unserious way? But whatever may be this case, he said that efforts to embody separatists hurts Christians in Nigeria. So it is Christians that will suffer. That's what he's saying, especially those of them in the north and in the Middle Belt. So what he's saying is that the Christians in the north does not have the numbers to be able to withstand what will happen to them. Christians in the Middle Belt, that they do not have the numbers to be able to withstand what could happen to them if push come to shove. So basically, the issue of dividing Nigeria, as far as they are concerned, will be a messy one, especially if the division is going to be based on religion. It is going to be a messy one, and nowhere will it get more messier than in the north, where you have Christians and Muslims together, and then in the Middle Belt, where you also have a mixture of Christians and Muslims. And if you look at the report that they have presented, you discover that they were particular about the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt appeared in that report more than any other region in Nigeria. So they are concerned about the fate of the Middle Belt if they are to support the division of Nigeria. So that was at the back of their mind why they didn't think it is necessary to talk about or even suggest anything close to dividing Nigeria. Okay, so the best option they could see was to be able to put pressure on the Nigerian government to stop the killings, and if need be, to act directly to stop the killings of Christians in Nigeria. I don't know what to think about these letters, the reports that Raleigh Moore has presented to President Donald Trump, in which he did not recommend the division of Nigeria, which some people wanted, while others does not want that as a permanent solution to the issue of persecution and genocidal killings of Christians in Nigeria. Whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you.
Oh yes. The whole thing is it is somehow shocking, and somehow the thing that is he said that he did not recommend division of Nigeria, but he need to recommend one. And I need to recommend true federalism of Nigeria, or you need to recommend how the people can cooperate with the Fulani counterparts, that is with the Sharia or something. Because if you end fighting these Boko Haram, bandits, terrorists, and rest of them, and you still keep them the way you left them when you come into the country, at the end they will still go back and they still repeat what they are doing. Meaning that there must be a lasting solution in the whole thing. And the lasting solution is that those people that claim that they are imposed by Sharia, they want their Sharia, they need to go with their Sharia. And by telling them to go with their Sharia, meaning that you want to divide them. And then this issue of you must remove your Sharia. Why the northern caliphate, the cold north, they are saying that instead of them to remove the Sharia, it is better for them to live on their own. Have you seen the whole thing? And the US now, they are now saying that they must remove the Sharia. And there is no how you can do those things without talking of division. That is where the whole thing lies on. So, in fact, they are just playing around. They are just beating around the bush without going straight to what they want to say. That is what I found out in this report. The whole thing is they are just beating around the bush. At the end, they will still tell us what they find and they're finding in Nigeria and what they are going to do about it. Because the issue of Sharia or no Sharia is the cause of all those things. If you look around Africa entirely, what is causing the problem? It is when the Islamic leaders and when they come with this belief by claiming that they want everybody to be Islamized. It is when this war used to start. So it is everywhere. And if you are saying that they must remove their Sharia, it will cause a lot of problem, which is the North. They have already saying it that they will never remove it. It is part of their constitutional rights. What do you think about the whole thing that is going on in Nigeria? I would like to hear your comments down below. Like, subscribe, and share it to go and let others see what is really going on in Nigeria. We say thank you for watching.